Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Sumit and I'm a digital chess coach. Today I'm going to show you two games from the Budapest Olympiad, the 41st Olympiad, which is happening in Budapest, Hungary. And the games are played by the one and only Jobava, and he is playing his system, the Jobava London system, which I've been playing for the past 2 years. And it's a very interesting opening, and these are two very interesting games. The game was played in the second round against David Alexandro, and the second game was played against Luke McShane, very strong grandmaster from England, and both are very good games. And let's dive in and look at the game. So Jobava is playing with the white pieces and plays d4, knight f6, knight c3, d5, bishop f4. This is the Jobava London system, and e6. So this is the Queen's Gambit variation, or can call it the French variation. Knight b5, attacking the c7 square. Knight a6, defending the c7 square. e3, and bishop e7. This is the modern way of treating the treatment of this line. Black refrains from playing c6 and instead develop his pieces first, so that he doesn't lag behind in development. Knight f3, castle, h4. This is the critical move. I think it was played first by Arjun Erigasi, and this is a very interesting line. Breath fresh air into this whole variation. c6, knight c3, and queen a5. This is a very interesting continuation. Other move was playing queen b6. And the point is to pin the knight and try to play knight e4, putting pressure on the c3 knight, which can be misplaced in certain variations. So knight d2, unpinning the knight, c5, striking in the center, knight b3, attacking the queen, queen b6, a4, trying to kick the queen away from the active square in b6, pawn takes pawn, a5, queen d8, and pawn takes pawn. So if you look at this position, it is fairly balanced. Black has castled and completed the development, and white is yet to castle. But all of his pieces are optimally placed, and white has a slight advantage, although the engine says that black is better because of the misplaced knight on a6. Bishop d7, developing the last piece. Bishop takes a6, a thematic move. I think knight c7 was better instead of bishop d7. Now the black structure is compromised on the queen side, and it will be very tough to defend this position. So pawn takes a6, white plays h5, gaining space on the king side. h6, otherwise white would play h6 himself. Jobava castles, and queen c8. Now, if you look at this position, white, I think, in my opinion, is clearly better because of his kingside activity. Black cannot create adequate counterplay on the queen side, and the rook on a8 is kind of you cannot move because the b8 square is controlled by the bishop, and the c8 queen controls restricts the movement of the a8 rook. So rook e1, bishop b5, offering a trade. If white captures on b5, then he can correct his pawn structure. Rook e3, bishop c4, knight d2, king h8. I think it was a prophylactic move, but I think instead of king h8, bishop b5 was better going back. Otherwise, knight capturing on c4, that kind of pawn structure is better for white. Rook g3, queen d8, knight takes c4, pawn takes c4, and bishop e5. Although the engine says that this is equal, I think my experience and gut feeling says that this is a very good position for white. He can maneuver his pieces and to the king side and create a lot of threats. and the pawn on c4 is weak. Bishop d6, queen f3, rook b8, rook b1, and bishop takes e5, pawn takes e5, knight h7, queen g4, threatening mate on g7, rook g8, the only move, knight e4, threatening to play knight to d6 and knight f7, f5, pawn takes pawn, knight takes pawn, knight takes knight, queen takes knight, and queen c4. Queen takes b2 and rook e1. This is a very important move, attacking the e6 square. Other idea was to capture the enemy rook on b2 and play that way. But then Jobava decides to keep more heavy pieces on the board, and that was a wise decision. Rook b5, attacking the h5 pawn. Rook g6, gaining a tempo on the queen. Queen f5 and queen g4 and g4. Very important move because white cannot afford to lose the h5 pawn. Instead, I think queen e5 was queen e7 was better, or queen f7 was better. I don't know. It's a very complicated position. But queen f5, it allowed white to play g4 with the tempo. Here, queen c5 was better, but black played queen d5, and now the white's advantage grew significantly because of the following move, queen to f4. It threatens to play the pawn to c4, forking the rook and the queen, king h7, and now this move is a blunder, I feel, and white is completely winning now because of this move, queen c4, and this move is forced. Otherwise, well, black will lose at least a rook, and queen f7. Now there are a lot of threats in the position. White can create an attack, and black king is completely doomed. Queen d3 and rook takes e6. Now the threat is rook takes h7, and after king h1, h2, black resign, because whatever here black plays, it will be checkmate. For example, let's try queen f1, and now rook h6 is mates. So this is the second game played against Luke McShane in the match Georgia against England. So let's see the game. E4, knight f6, and knight c3, e5, bishop f4, the Jobava London, e6, knight b5, like in the previous game, knight a6, e3, bishop e7. These are the same moves that played in the first game against the Costa Rican. Knight f3, castle, and h4. Again, the same moves. c6, knight c3, knight c7, and I think in this position, white is slightly better. Knight e2. I think this is a novelty. Earlier, they used to play knight e5 or even a3 or h5. Knight e2 is a new move. The idea is to solidify the center with c3, c5, c3, and b5. Not sure if this is a good move. I think black should develop as quickly as possible, and the c7 knight is actually misplaced. D takes c5, bishop takes c5, knight d4. The knight is centralized in attacking the b5 pawn. Bishop d7, defending the pawn. Knight e5, b4, knight d3, bishop b6. And here already white is pushing. The b4 pawn is vulnerable. Knight takes b4, knight e4, bishop d3. White's position is preferable at this stage. Bishop takes e4, pawn takes e4, and queen b3. This is a wonderful construction. You have a pressure against the e6 pawn. After bishop, let's say bishop takes c7, the e6 pawn will fall. So queen e8 was played, and a4 kicking away, trying to kick away the b6 bishop for that, the knight has to move. Bishop a5, castle, rook a7, trying to defend the d7 bishop. Bishop takes c7, pawn takes c7, and knight b5. White is much better. Bishop e5, rook d1, and f5. Knight d6, forcing the trade of the bishop. Bishop takes d6 and f4. Pawn takes f4 and rook takes f4, queen d1. You look at this position, white has got the control of the d file. He's threatening rook takes d7, and the pawns on e6 and e4 are weak, while white's pawn structure is much healthier and connected. So white is much better in this position, and I think almost borderline winning. Rook f7, queen d4, centralizing the queen. Bishop takes a4. That was an irrelevant pawn. Queen takes e4, bishop d3 and c4. This is the star move, trapping the bishop on b3. a5, knight c6, queen f8, and rook takes a5 without fearing losing of the pawn. Rook takes a5, knight takes rook d8, and now the queen is lost and white is winning now. Rook a1 check, king h2, rook f2, queen e6 check first, king h8, and queen e3. The queen is not going anywhere. Queen takes rook, knight takes rook, rook f8. The game is already over. White is completely winning in this position. Knight e6, rook b8, queen g3, threatening a mate on g7, rook b7, and knight c5 is a nice finish. So beautiful two games by Bahadur Jobava. I hope you enjoyed this two games from the Olympiad. You do follow the Olympiad, and I thoroughly enjoyed these two games by Bahadur Jobava. I think Jobava is playing the Jobava system after a long time. If you like this video, please do like, share, and subscribe to my channel. It will immensely help me. And until next time, bye-bye.